here's the other thing I was just explaining to the other class. This class used to be 8 weeks because I have to make sure that I have honored the requirements of the university for graduate credit. And I also have to honor the requirements of the Bible encounter training, which 8 weeks was perfect, but then they reduced it to 6 weeks. And then I had to get everything in 6 weeks, which we were able to do. And then 2 weeks, just 2 weeks before we started the class this time, they told me, oh, you got to do it in 4 weeks, which is why sometimes you see the things that say it's due in week 5 or due in week 6, because we had put it down to 4 weeks because the university wants all of the summer classes to be done in 4 weeks, which is kind of hard. So, but I can't, there's nothing that I can take out. I still have to get it all in there, but I have to figure out a way to do it. So what I've done, am I putting the recording on in case anybody, yes, I'm recording. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to leave the drop boxes open, and I'm trying to be flexible in the grading because I do understand that you guys are teachers. So that's like the best that I can do. And then even though I'm supposed to finish on the 12th, I'm leaving all the drop boxes open until that Sunday night. I think that's the 14th. Is that what that is? Yeah, I'm leaving everything open until the 14th. And then I would rather get yelled at, so that will give me an opportunity to tell them, look, guys, because my grades are actually due on that Tuesday. The grades are always due the Tuesday after the course closes. So that will give me an opportunity to say, look, I gave them until Sunday because you guys had me do all of that, have them do all of the work, and there was just not enough time. So I hope that helps. That's the best I can do. Okay, so all right, let us go ahead and get started. Now, I don't think you guys had to you didn't have to do this assignment, but I want to show you this. You're not doing this. I took this out when it went from 8 weeks to 6 weeks, but I just want to show you this because it's something fun that the students like to do. I actually would have my students do this. So I'm going to share this for worship. We are recording. And it's here, and it's 90 seconds. So here we go. Okay, so I use this one I use this for animated, and I have the students do it. This was actually done by one of the teachers that I had in the past, and I have the students do it. They tell the story. This is one of those computer applications that I use is Powtoons. Another computer application that I use is Padlet. I think one of your assignments was to put together computer applications that you use. The students love doing these types of things. So you just figure out which one you're going to do, because again, you don't have to do everything that's in the book. You can actually change it around and adapt it for your classroom. So you figure out what works for your students. But let's pray. Father God, we do thank you for the opportunity to come together once again. I ask that you would be with us as we are finishing up the TPF for today and going forward with what we have to get done together, the requirements. And we ask that you would also, Lord, be with those who are not here, Lord, and help them to be able to be safe wherever they are in whatever they're doing, in Jesus' name. Okay. All right. So Bartley and Angie and Tim, did I say I'm recording it? Did it come up? Yes. All right.
Yes,
Here we go. Okay, good. Now you have your foldable, right? And again, I do apologize for it takes so long for me to grade everything because I try to make sure I have everything. And I know sometimes you guys get those notes from me that say, did you do this and did you do that? And I will say, Angie, are you using a Mac?
Yes.
Okay, that's the problem. I'm not using a Mac. So I really need you to submit documents as a PDF or as a JPEG for me, okay?
Yeah, I did. I went back and
Okay,
resent my other form.
okay,
And so I don't know if you got to go look at it again, but
okay,
it should work.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize that some of my screenshots weren't
Yeah,
working. So I've been doing everything as a
yeah.
PDF or JPEG now.
We appreciate that. And also your videos, if you can either do them as an MP4 or as YouTube, if you send anything. I don't know if anybody else has a Mac. I sometimes use a Mac, but I don't have access to a Mac this summer. So if you can, that would really help me go a little faster because I know that you've done your assignments, Angie, and that's why I'm picking on you. I try to find one person to pick on in each class. I know that you've done your assignments and I send you the notes because I refuse to put a 0 down because I know you did it. Okay. So, but that's for anybody, if you're doing anything else, PDF or JPEG, Word, if you can, but I understand if you don't want to do Word. Okay. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Nope, I don't have. My other class has 33 students in it. I don't know if you guys have heard me say that. So I have a whole list of things to fix with them. Next week is our last week that we will meet together. I don't think you'll need any one-on-one time, but if you need some one-on-one time with me, just let me know. You email me. Yeah, I might have a few minutes on Friday. I will have a few minutes after this class, and I might have some time on Sunday. Okay. Right. Yes, Angie.
I was just wondering, with these big projects coming up at the end, I don't know if you'll have time with all of us, but just for you to give us a little clarification of what that's all about, because
One.
I want to make sure I'm doing it right before I put too
Which
much energy.
one?
Well, I looked at the original Bible Encounter unit plan, and
It
and
builds. So it builds. The first thing you did was the aims, where you just looked at one that was done. Then you adapted one. And so the final thing, that is definitely a Bible encounter training requirement. Now you do one. So for mine, when I did mine, I did the book of Ruth. And I went across the quadrant. I'm telling you how I did mine. I've given you guys several forms that you can use, but all I did was I just went across the quadrant and I did things that I would do for each quadrant for the book of Ruth. Okay. And then I put songs in that I would do. I did all of the sensors, all the sensories, which I'm going to talk about again, all of the multiple intelligences as I went across all 4 quadrants. And I probably should have had this discussion with you at the end, which is what I did with the other class. But I made sure that I included something for everything in the book of Ruth. That was me. You decide which one you want to do and how you want to do something that's original. It's not saying that yours is going to be fully like what Nina has done. Yours is not going to be like that. It is what would you do for a full for a Bible encounter unit for each one of these as we are going to finish them today.
so the first one, submit adapted encounters, just us taking what we would teach. And then when we make an original Bible encounter unit plan, we're making up one that's not in the curriculum.
Might be in the curriculum, but you don't know whether or not it's there. Or it might be something that, because I didn't know that there was one done for Ruth when I did mine, because I didn't have access to everything. And I know that there are people who did Esther. They didn't know that there was an Esther. So it's just one, it's not one that I have given you. And I think, Tim, we had that conversation. I can't give you all of them, but one that I have not given you to look at, what would you do for each one of the quadrants that as what we are about to cover today? Finish the quadrants. Okay. The adapted was how will it work in your classroom? Nobody, I've not met anyone who has done the Bible encounter correctly that has covered everything in the unit. Nobody. What would you cover in your class for one of these units? How would you do it? That's the adapting it. That's the adapting it. The original one is What would you do for one of these if you did it yourself originally? Yes, Bartley.
Hi, good afternoon. The assignment that I did for Bible Encounter was just that. The example you gave us, I adopted it for a whole year with all the school dates that are in, the vacations, when we did the learn abate, when we had the different levels of the Bible Encounter. It took me actually 2 days to complete it. So I don't know. I was thinking, is there something else that you're looking for? Because I adopted the one of the units that you gave us. I
One
adopted
unit.
one
One
of
unit
the
usually takes 9 weeks, one
right.
quarter.
What
That's
would
one unit. That's
oh,
you're adapting what already exists. That's adapting it.
but
The original is you coming up with your own and doing it in all 4 quadrants, as in all of the 4 quadrants.
oh wow.
Okay, so let me go ahead and finish. Let me go ahead and finish the program because we haven't finished it yet. Okay, and it usually makes more sense after we have finished it. Okay, all right, which is why I try to give you examples. Unfortunately, the examples that I give you are usually people who did it over the top, right? And I don't expect you to do it over the top. But let me go ahead and finish because we are almost done. Okay, we just, not exactly sure, my screen. Okay, can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes, very good, thank you. All right. So okay, I'm gonna review what we did last week first. So what we've done over the last couple of weeks. So this was number 1, exploration. What was the learner bait? What was the learning context? Again, in here, what you have access to for exploration, each one of these, each one of the units starts with the learner bait. Each one of the units starts with learning context. You are not expected to do all of the learner bait. You are not expected to do all of the learner context. You do what works for your class. So when you were adapting it, which one would work for your class? That's what the adaptation means. Which one of these would you do for your class? You're not doing all of it, but which one would work for your class? Okay? So that's orientation. The second phase was exploration. And in exploration, you're doing the engaged learning and the animated learning. So that's when you go ahead and you're doing the teaching. Oh my goodness, there are 3 pages of orientation in this unit. So when you're doing the animated, how are you telling the story? Are you using a video to tell the story? Are you using a skit to tell the story? Are you having them take a trip to the opera to tell the story? Which one of these that's on here are you using to tell the story? That's animated. And then, of course, that's animated also. And that's animated also. Again, she has 4 pages, 5, 6 pages. Are you going to do all of those? No, you're not going to do all of those. So what we do for the adapted is, what of these are you going to do for your classroom? And then after you do the exploration, then the next piece is what we started with last week, which is the reflection. Which one of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She had 8 pages of exploration for this particular unit for 9.1, 9.29. This one is. It's actually changed over the years. So for the reflection, which one of these are you going to do for heart learning? Which one of these are you going to do for soul learning? She only has 1 page of heart learning. So you pick them. Some teachers try to do it all. It's impossible to do it all in 9 weeks, one marking period. It is impossible to do every one of those pages in 1 marking period. So which one are you going to pick to help the students to grab the heart of God? And then our next one that we're looking at for today is soul learning. So that's the one I'm starting with now, is soul learning. And we call that reflective practice. So now I'm going to go back to the screen and pick up the PowerPoint from there for soul learning. Remember, each one of these has a logo associated with it. You guys should have gotten the logos already. So here's the logo for soul learning, because we want the students to reflect back on what they've gotten. We want them to sit and think. We want them to go, What do we mean by reflective practice? That's something that we as Americans don't do real well. But in Psalm 46, we are told, be still and know that I am God. Being still is really hard for us, but we need to help our students to be still and reflect back on what they learned during exploration. Be still and reflect back on what we were trying to connect with them on orientation. Palmer says, in authentic education, silence is treated as a trustworthy matrix for the inner work students must do, a medium for learning of the deepest sort. Be still. Be still. It's not enough to simply read the truth. It must be allowed to sink in. If truth doesn't saturate, change remains cosmetic. Be still. You see, when students are given the opportunity to write in journals, or an opportunity to discuss the new learning in small groups, makes sense for the learning brain. That's Eric Jensen. When we try to cram more content per minute or move from one piece of learning to the next before the students have had an opportunity to soak it in, that virtually guarantees that little will be learned or retained. In fact, Eric Jensen says, many teachers who complain of having to do so much reteaching are the same ones who went too fast or tried to get too much in. Ellen White says that when every other voice is hushed and in quietness we wait before him, the silence of the soul makes more distinct the voice of God. Be still. Give the students an opportunity to reflect. Now, another way to we've talked about the clock partners. We've talked about turn and talk, which is one that teachers like to do. Another thing that works real good is triad sharing. If you have an odd number in your classroom that can be divided by 3, then you put them in groups of 3, have them talk about what they've learned, and then sit for a minute. Then talk about what they've learned and sit for a minute. And then have them share with the whole group. We simply call that triad sharing. So in soul learning, with the logo of the chair, we consider growth of the moral self through quiet reflection. It's okay for the students to sit quietly on the carpet or sit quietly under a tree. And one of my favorite things for my juniors and seniors used to do would be to whatever subject it was that I was teaching them, would just to go under a tree with the book, with the Bible, with their journal, and draw or write, or sit in a corner with someone and pair share. Mind mapping is tricky unless we teach them how to do it well. And reflective questioning gets tricky unless we teach them how to reflect and we're not just asking them questions just to see if they were awake in class. Soul learning is the fusion between the cognitive and the spiritual, that which goes into the brain and comes out through the spiritual self of the heart. Okay, so that's, I'm going to stop for a minute, is reflection here. Heart learning is I get that's what God is trying to tell me. And the soul learning is, let me think about that some more. Let me reflect on it. So that's this one. And remember, when you guys are sharing pictures, if I can see it, but you guys will show it to me in just a minute. If I can see it, that you guys don't actually have to put it in. But thank you, Angie, for putting it in. And I think it was Sam. Sam puts in all of his foldables as well. And I think you do too. I just can't see yours. So thank you for putting them in just in case I couldn't see it on that particular day that we had class. Because that's one of the things, as people are going back to look at the video, I need to make sure that you guys are doing this with me as we're doing it as well. Now we're going to do the last one. That was page 3. And the last one is page 4. And for mine on page 4, as I fold it back, I put mine at the top up here. And across the top, we're now doing celebration. If we don't celebrate, then it's lost on the kids. If we don't celebrate, it's lost on ourselves because they don't see how it can be fun. Bible, again, needs to be the most fun class in school. It needs to be the most fun class in the curriculum. And if it's not, then why not? After all, it was the most fun thing for Jesus to do. It's the most fun thing for God to do. And we need to make sure that the students are receiving that as well. So we have celebration that we divided in two. And now I'm going to share mine with you. And so the next one we call life learning, the celebration, life learning, where they're actually applying it now. How are they going to apply it? Why is it necessary to apply it? Well, we apply it by getting into people's shoes and walking around in it. We apply it using what we call life learning. We apply it with what we call application, commitment. Apply the learning. Give the students an opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to do it now. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves, but do what it says. Paul says, don't just be hearers of the word, but be doers of the word also. And of course, Anne Frank says how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. She tried to improve her world, even though she didn't have very much time in it. What can we help our students to do to improve this world? Of course, George Knight, I have to have one by him. He says, the essence of Christianity is not a body of knowledge to digest or a book to study, but a life to live. What are you going to do to help them to put on boots and get out into the community and apply it? What are you going to do to help them to make it real in their lives? Not just reading the book. Bible classes should challenge students to devote their talents and energies to God in order to make a difference in the world. Are they going to plan a mission trip? Are they going to plan a chapel program? Are they going to plan an opportunity for someone to participate? It's what are they going to do to apply it? Now, you guys are going to have to type the answers in the chat. When we think about the story of the Good Samaritan, how would a student show you that they've learned the parable of the Good Samaritan? So I want you to type A, B, C, or D and explain why you type that. In the chat, you're going to type A, B, C, or D, and then I want you to say why in the chat. So go ahead and do that. And those who are listening to the recording, you're going to do the same thing. Type it up. Remember, you're typing because you're good graduate students. Type your answer and then type your reason for it. Okay, go ahead. You have 60 seconds. Go ahead and type it in the chat and then type Y. Don't just say A. Don't just say D. Tell Y. Pick one, take a stand. And now I'm going to turn it off and see what you guys said. Let's see. Let's share it. Okay. Oh, boy. We have a consensus here. Tim, you didn't get to type your reason why. You still typing? All right, Angie said, because this is an action that goes along with the story, okay? And Bartha, you want to do both of them. It means you got to understand. Which one?
I put C, but I didn't put Y, and then when you said that, I tried to type it and it disappeared.
Okay. All
but
right.
because it's application is what I was saying.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we want to make sure that we are doing it. And then, so then the question comes up, it comes up every time. Why can't it be A or why can't it be D? It's not that it can't, it's just that the only one that can stand alone for application is C. Does that make sense? You can do the others, but C is the only one that stands alone as one that shows that they can do it, shows that they understand it. Okay. So we want the one that stands alone, because if they're just telling, they can tell you, but they're not showing you. Because here's the key. It says show you. What action are they doing? So yes, it should be C, should be the answer. Okay. So in life learning, when we think about life learning, as far as celebration is concerned, we want to make sure that life learning is total transformational application. It would be very difficult for a student to sit over to the side and not be engaged in anything that's going on. If you have students who just finished the story of the Good Samaritan and they're supposed to be acting out or showing or applying or show you that they've learned that they need to like everyone, that's a hard thing to do. But when they do show you that they like people who are different than they are, then that shows transformation. The whole idea of the lordship model is to help the students, we've said already, to become like Christ. So we want to make sure that there's a transformational application. So that's what you've got to make sure that you are including when you are coming up with your original. You are making sure that you include a way to show that they are applying that transformational opportunity. Not just that, but a commitment. Usually in this section, as I told you, I had a pastor who said a few years ago to me, you want to make sure that as principal, that you provide every opportunity for your students to commit themselves to Christ. And that usually is something that says, how many of you would like more Bible study? Or how many of you would like to have baptism? I mean, that is what church school is all about. It is all about helping the students to be like Christ. The question then that comes up, and I actually had this from one of my teachers, when I said we wanted to make sure that all the students had an opportunity to accept Christ as their personal savior, I had a teacher say, but we have 40% of our kids are not from Adventist homes. I said, that's not the point. What the point that the pastor was making, which is true, is that one of the goals of the Adventist school is so that the students can be transformed to be like Christ, to make a commitment to be with Christ. We let the parents and the kids deal with the rest of the stuff, but we have to give them the opportunity. And now we go to the most fun, the one that's called Kaizen. That's the last one in the quadrant. It's called Kaizen. It's the time that says, yay, we learned it. Yay, we understand it. Yay, we are planning something. And yay, we are now celebrating with fun. Kaizen, the logo for Kaizen celebration is definitely that. Just a celebration of some sort, which we usually associate with balloons and confetti and stuff like that. Helen Keller said the world is moved not only by the mighty shoves of the heroes, but also by the aggregate of the tiny pushes of each honest worker. Are we honest workers who are trying to do those little tiny pushes? Just a tiny push, just to help our kids to realize, hey, you got to make a decision. Make a decision. Okay, make a decision. A tiny push, not a hard push. Somewhere along the line, the academic community seems to have forgotten that one of the most important things to learn is a love for learning. Few people gain a love for anything that is marinated in drudgery. People learn more and learn to love learning when they enjoy the process. And if they know that they're going to plan the dinner and then have the dinner, that they are going to plan the outreach community project, and then they're actually going to do the project. They are going to plan the agape feast, and they're actually going to do the agape feast. Then it makes more sense to them. Remember the children of Israel, all of the rituals and celebrations that they had a celebration for everything. One of the most important things that we want to make sure that they plan for is to fall in love with Jesus and to make a date to be with him. Okay? John 1:1. The word appeared right before our eyes, and now we're telling you from the very first day we were there, taking it all in. We heard it with our own ears, saw it with our own eyes, verified it with our own hands, and now we're telling you in the most sober prose that what we witnessed was incredibly this. The infinite life of God himself took shape before us. We saw it, we heard it, and now we're telling you so you can experience it along with us. This experience of communion with the Father and his Son, Jesus Christ. Our motive for telling is simply this. We want you to enjoy this too. Your joy will be double our joy. We want to make sure that our students hear it and then can share it with someone else in a different way. Kaizen, though, we are going to keep going with Kaizen. Kaizen celebration is the opportunity to honor the small steps within the learning process. And as an educator, as a seasoned educator, Kaizen, you need to have a Kaizen celebration with every major unit that you do in every subject, whether it's Bible or math or social studies or language arts, whatever it is that you're teaching. When you have the end of the unit, have some type of celebration with the students. This is celebrating the formative, the formative. This is honoring the formative assessment, not the final assessment, but honoring the formative assessment. Kaizen encourages retention through the engagement of positive emotions. In your book that you'll have access to, or on the website that you have access to, there's always an opportunity for verbal, linguistic, logical, visual, kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, natural, or spiritual learning opportunities for the students, so that someone in some way can have an opportunity to learn in the way that's comfortable for them. It might be through the sense of touch, sense of hearing, but every student needs to have an opportunity to learn that way and then to celebrate that way. Kaizen learning associates joy, delight, and fun with that which is godly. They have fun at basketball games, at baseball games. They have fun at end of the year parties. Why can't they have fun in Bible? Celebration with meaningful rituals, as I've mentioned already, take place within the Bible. Simple parties, or maybe even a cultural dinner, or some other authentic delight that goes along with the unit that was studied. A celebration, a fun opportunity. Kaizen, that's it. Let's celebrate. Now, I'm going to show you what I do with my book. We start with the first page, and I told you on the back of it, I had the name of it, what it was. It's TPF, Transformational Planning Framework, and I know you guys have done that already. And remember, the first one was orientation on page 1, which was learner bait and learning context. Then page 2, you fold it back, and on the bottom left, you have, actually bottom right, but you have exploration for animated learning or engaged learning. That's story time. That's story time. And then on reflection, you have heart learning and soul learning. And then, as we've just looked at, we have celebration. Well, with celebration, you're given the opportunity to apply it and celebrate it. Probably the favorite celebration at my school when I was principal would be the opportunity for the students to plan the Thanksgiving baskets that they gave to the community. Every class, it was a combination school, and every class, every teacher found a way to work that into their curriculum in social studies, in language arts, and in Bible. Okay, whatever it was that found it. And again, this is something that we planned at the very beginning of the year. And every class planned it, and every class implemented it. Another thing that we did as a school, and again, there's things that you can do school-wide, which is why I asked you guys from the very beginning, one of the things that you want to do is to look at your year-long overview. Remember, I told you to do the year-long overview, so that when there are the special days for the school. There's another special day that we did for our school was we did a walk through Bethlehem. And we found a way to put that through. It was acting that every class did it. We found a way to put that through Bible and language arts and social studies. So but what I did with my teachers as principal was, of course, like I told you, I fell in love with this Bible encounter, and we would look at an overview. We would look at an overview of the whole thing, and we would say, okay, at the beginning of the year, how can we do this unit? Where are you going to put this unit? And which unit are you going to put here? Which unit are you going to put? How are you going to do this as we are dealing with our weeks of prayer, our outreach? How are you going to do this as we're dealing with our celebrations as a school? You decide where it's going to go for you, but you already have the guide, the plan. As I said, she has for reflection. She had a couple of pages of celebration for that. Life learning, Kaizen learning. And now I'm going to go straight to the book and look at some more stuff in the book that I really like, but it's not book for you. But they also give an opportunity they give the standards. And along with the standards, they tell you, I know you can't see this real good, but you guys will have access to it. Oh, before I forget, let me say that. After I'm done recording your grades, you will get an invitation, or you can go on Facebook and do it, where you can join the Bible Encounter Facebook page, which is monitored by the authors. When you join the Bible Encounter Facebook page, what's good about that, and I do it with teachers all the time, and I'm working with teachers during the school year. I actually had a teacher, and she was having trouble. She wanted to do something with Easter. and she was having trouble finding the supplies in the kit that came with the unit that she was doing. So I told her, I said, just go on Facebook and ask someone else how they did it. She did. She got a reply within 24 hours, and she was able to come up with it, was able to find it, and she was able to come up with it and do it. So don't forget to access the Facebook page. But the standards are here, performative as well as summative assessment, and we're going to look at more at assessment next week. Then there's an opportunity for teacher reflection. So if you decide, oh, I don't like the way that went, go ahead and write yourself some notes for teacher reflection so you know that you're going to do it differently next year. And then all of the appendices that's supposed to have everything in it, the stories to read, the treasure verses, okay? What other boxes that you need to make? Here's the extra scriptures in the message version or whatever version they're telling you to read. The frame, I remember seeing this in the pack. So what I did with my teachers also as principal is that I got an aide to come in at the very beginning of the year. I asked the teachers, give me an overview of what you were going to cover. So, and I told them, you don't have to cover everything in it. Pick what unit you're going to do: first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And then make sure as you're doing that, that is following along with our theme for the year, or we need to change the theme as a school. And then after you do that, then let's see, where will we fit in our extra stuff as a school? Where will you fit in your field trip? So we want to make sure that everything fits in. And then I would have an aide to come in, and I would have the aide to actually run the copies for them of the extra things that they needed, put those things in a kit, so that when they came to that section of unit 8.2 or 9.3, that everything was already there for them. Now, that's how we did it at our school. Everybody does it differently, okay? All right, let me go back. We are almost done because now we're going to have a quiz. Now, and I told you to bear in mind all of the logos. Here is the review. What you're going to do now is we're going to go back over this in a different way. Again, this is a type of formative assessment. And you're going to type in the chat which one of these the logo represents. Okay, whether it's learner bait, or learning context, or animated learning, or engaged learning, or hard learning, or slow learning, life learning, or Kaizen learning. So when you see the picture, please type it in the chat. You'll have 5 seconds after each one to type it in after it appears. Okay? All right, here we go. Oh, and those who are doing this recording, listening to the recording, make sure you type in, describe the picture of the logo, and then type in what that logo represents, which piece of it represents. There you go. Type it in the chat. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more of you need to type it in. I'm going to the next page. Please type it in. Okay, I'm going on. Okay, please type in the chat which one of these is represented. Sorry. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody didn't get it in? Okay. Okay, please type in the chat which one this represents. Or be more specific. There are 2 pieces on orientation. Which one is it? 3, 2, 1. You got to make a decision. Okay. Type in which one is represented here by the boots. Be very specific. Be very specific. If you think it's exploration, don't just say exploration. Which one of them on exploration is it? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Which one is represented by balloons? Yes, I understand that I did it again because I found this is the one that people usually miss. You get another chance to get this one right. Be very specific. Don't just say orientation. If you're saying orientation, which one is it? Which one is the puzzle piece? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't just say reflection. Say which one it is if you decided to say reflection. Which one is the mask? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on, 2 of you need to put it in. One more. One more. Take a stance.
I don't know.
Take a guess. Okay. This one's very easy. Which one is this one? 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I like to do with my students is something called body matching. An example of body matching would be, and this is again, this is formative assessment. This is all formative assessment. One of the things that I like about Bible Encounter is that when you're doing assessment, formative assessment is what you're gathering the whole time. Remember? Body matching. If we were doing these, and I would tell my students to put the answer, for heart learning, the answer would be on their heart. For soul learning, I would tell them to put it on their foot. For Learn-A-Bate, I'd tell them to put it on their cricket finger. So I would tell them to put it somewhere. And then when we would go back, if we had a summative evaluation, that they would be able to find it because they would have put it somewhere in their body part. So body assessment, body learning, body matching, it's something that works really good. Now, that is actually all that we have time for today. Next week, we're going to talk more about assessment, and it shouldn't take very long, and then we'll be done. Again, the last thing that I always do for mine is I make one last final one. And then when I actually did mine for the Bible Encounter training, for each one of them, first, second, and third training that I did, I actually made my circle. And after I made my circle and I made my 4 quadrants, okay? And then after I made my 4 quadrants, then I made the 8. And then I put the book of Ruth up top. And then I said for the book of Ruth, because I did several of them, the one for the book of Ruth, then I put what I was doing for Learn-A-Bate and what I was doing for learning context and what I did for animated learning. And actually my animated learning turned out to be something that I've been using with my students. I used with my students up until the time and I stopped teaching Bible, actually till the time I stopped teaching social studies. So what I'm going to do, and then later on, then I went back and I did an explanation for what I was going to do for each one of those. And that was my project. And that can be your project as well. I think I have blank ones. I have blank circles of these. If it's not there, I will provide a blank circle for you if you want to do it on a circle. Or the one that Nina did, the author, the high school author, she has just the 8 pieces, and you can just do that if you want to do that for yours. So, okay, so I'm going to pray for you guys and let you go. Father God in heaven, I thank you for this day. Lord, I ask you would be with us, keep us safe from the storm. Be with those who are in the line of the hurricane, wherever they are. Be with those who have lost power already. Be with those who might be having some issues related to their roofs from this hurricane that is going through in the southern part of the United States and down in the West Indies. As you would be with these teachers as they are continuing to work, and be with those who are traveling. In Jesus' name, amen.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for our transformational planning framework, are you going to have us put anything else in this booklet?
No,
Or
this is
should
my
we-
last. Oh, sorry. I didn't show you how I did my last one. That is actually my last page. So this was
Right.
1. This was 2. This was 3. I didn't show you how it came up. This was 4. And then on mine, anytime I took a training, this page was notes, the one that I have that's blank. And then the last page was actually the whole thing. I put it together. And that's what I need from you. Right, right. You can show it to me next week, or you can take a picture of it and put it in that Dropbox that says submit documents here. Okay.
So if I actually wrote it on another paper,
Yep, that's it.
that,
Yep, yep,
okay.
yep, yep.
And I see that I did not, I put it in there and it's not a PDF, so I'll unsubmit it and resubmit it to you.
I gave you credit for it, Angie.
Okay, well, I'll put it in anyway, so you
You
have it.
showed it to me in class or something, but okay, that was,
Yeah.
maybe that was the other one. Okay, okay. All right, guys,
Okay, thank you.
stay safe, enjoy the 4th.
You too, bye.
Bye.